God doesn't exist. Human being is the measure of all things.
Like, what are these things? Are they good or bad? And I think some of them are bad.
An enormous book that defies logic and has been prohibited, hidden, and surrounded by mystery, the Codex Gigas is known as the Devil's Bible and has a prominent place in historical accounts. Legend has it that a monk begged the devil to help him finish the impossible job of writing it in one night. However, does it cover everything? How is it that this sacred literature contains both sacred scriptures and forbidden occult wisdom? Does it include any secrets that are deemed too harmful for the public to know about? The monk's covenant with evil. A condemned monk in a remote Bohemian monastery, deep in spiritual discipline and far from the worldly concerns of the outside world, is where the Codex Gigas first emerged. Historians disagree as to whether this monk's heinous transgression was heresy, insurrection, or something else entirely. Either way, he was condemned to be bricked up alive as a penalty. The monk, who was about to die, pleaded for forgiveness by promising to compile all of human knowledge in a single volume that would include philosophical and scientific writings with hallowed religious texts and accounts of the supernatural. With time running out, the monk came to terms with the vastness of his undertaking. He just did not have what it took to complete such a massive text in the allotted time. Supposedly, he begged the devil for the magical power to finish the Codex Gigas in one night, trading his soul for it because he was so desperate. Legend has it that the devil's likeness etched into the manuscript by this deal will remain there forever. According to historical accounts, the monk was driven insane by visions of eerie figures and the constant chatter of supernatural entities at this time. The devil watches over the Codex, and it watches him in return. These were his last words to his comrades, and they were a chilling warning. Did the monk release something even darker, or was it merely the devil's influence? The draft's incongruous consistency. Impressive in every way, the Codex Gigas stands at about 3 feet in height, weighs over 165 pounds, and has over 600 pages of tightly packed text and elaborate pictures. Scholars are perplexed by the disturbing consistency of the handwriting over the whole document. Unlike most medieval scribes who show signs of wear and tear as well as changes in mood or health, the Codex Gigas reads like a continuous work from beginning to end. This unwavering reliability begs the question of a supernatural hand supervising the monk's labor, which seems to be going against the laws of human endurance. Additional examination of the ink identifies chemicals that are not typical of the time, such as remnants of mercury and rare metals linked to alchemical rituals. Because of these out-of-the-ordinary features, historians have begun to wonder if the monk tried to use supernatural energy or preservation procedures that went beyond what was known in the Middle Ages. The ink's composition, according to some theories, was intended to do double duty, to bind an evil force into each stroke and ensure the Codex's resilience and malicious presence through the years. What if the peculiar ink qualities aren't merely for durability, but to imbue each stroke with a sinister power? The Devil's Portrait and its Mysteries. The full-page depiction of the devil himself is one of the most unsettling and recognizable images in the Codex Gigas. The figure's contorted form, wide-eyed malice and piercing eyes stand out sharply against the backdrop of the surrounding holy writings in this painting. Compared to previous depictions of demons in medieval art, this devil seems so real, almost as if he were about to jump off the page. According to their research, this picture was more than just a symbol. It was an invitation for the devil to live in the manuscript. Wide swaths of white space surround the image, forming a sharp contrast that seems to force the observer's eyes to meet the devil's menacing grin. In the eyes of some, this picture represents an incantation, a spell meant to keep the devil's spirit within the book and grant him control over readers. Some think of it as a barrier that keeps the devil and his wicked minions inside the Codex, while others see it as a protecting ward. Countless witnesses have reported feeling an eerie presence or being overcome by fear after viewing the portrait, which some have interpreted as a sign that the devil is observing and evaluating those who gaze upon his likeness. Is it possible that this picture signifies more than just a picture? Is it a portal through which the devil's might can enter our reality? the restricted information. Chapters of the Codex. Gigas combine religious scripture with esoteric occult activities containing knowledge that is both sacred and profane. The document explores a wide range of topics, including biblical texts, exorcism rituals, demonology, and complex spells. This material would subsequently be used as the basis for grimoires, which are manuals of dark magic. This mixture of holy and prohibited information shows that the monk was very much into occult rituals, maybe trying to figure out what he was doing or gain control of the supernatural powers he had called upon. The most infamous part is Vinum Diaboli, which translates to the wine of the devil, and explains a ritual potion that people use to communicate with demonic spirits. The monk was probably not just recording these rituals, but also experimenting with them, mixing spiritual devotion with black magic, according to the passage's exact description. This duality begs the question: was the monk trying to comprehend these evil energies so he might defend humanity from them, or was he trying to use their power for his own gain? The Codex Gigas has a complicated interaction between light and darkness, and the presence of such information in a holy manuscript challenges the borders between faith and heresy. Was the Codex Gigas intended to be a tool for wielding evil or a weapon against it? Lost documents and secret practices. The disappearance of numerous pages from the Codex Gigas is said to have housed some of the most lethal spells, prophecies, and incantations, and it remains one of the biggest mysteries surrounding the text. The monks allegedly tore out these missing leaves out of fear that the information within could unleash terrible calamities. The intentional deletion of these pages raises the possibility that the Codex contained information that was too dangerous for humans to handle, information that may cause chaos in the natural world or give power to evil forces that could not be contained. In recent years, researchers have found faint impressions at the locations of the missing pages, which have revealed bits of symbols and enigmatic sentences that may hold clues to what these leaves originally contained. These findings have given rise to speculation that the Codex could contain a spell that can call upon a dark, ancient power, something more dreadful than Satan himself, if it were to be opened. Some scholars maintain that the missing pages of the Codex were never really destroyed, but rather stashed away in secret vaults or other old manuscripts, ready to be retrieved by some courageous or naive soul who would dare to perform the forbidden rite it contained. The specter of these pages' continued existence casts a pall of foreboding over the situation, as if the ultimate evil force slumbering within the Codex Gigas were only waiting to be stirred. Are these pages that have gone missing part of a ceremony that would release the ultimate evil power? The Codexs Curse. Many people think the Codex Gigas is cursed since it has been associated with a string of unfortunate events and mysterious occurrences since its construction. Legend has it that in the 15th century, a fire nearly destroyed the monastery that held the Codex. Somehow, some unseen power kept the book safe from the raging inferno. Many took this as a portent, a sign that the Codex contained evil spirits hell-bent on staying alive and spreading their influence. Horrific things have happened to those who have guarded the Codex throughout the years, from sudden deaths to bouts of insanity and obsession. Researchers from the modern day who have studied the text have reported unexplained occurrences such as chills, nightmares with eerie figures, and a generalized feeling of fear that lingers with them even after they leave the room. Some think the Codex has a dark aura that draws readers in, making them obsessed to the point where they lose their minds trying to unravel its secrets. As long as this curse lasts, the Codex Gigas will be a symbol of everlasting darkness, casting a shadow over everyone brave enough to seek out its mysteries. Is there a sinister force lurking beneath the Codex, ready to devour anyone brave enough to open its pages? Textual Prophecies. Many see hidden meanings and symbols in the Codex Gigas' dense writing, which they interpret as prophecies about the future. The intricate web of prophecy and warning is weaved with religious texts and occult ceremonies. Some parts seem to foretell major events in history, such as the Black Death and battles, with descriptions that remarkably match what happened in the real world. Many other interpretations have been proposed by scholars due to the fact that these predictions are not literal, but rather wrapped in metaphor and cryptic language. For some, the Codex is more than just a book. It's a prophetic blueprint that, when cracked, would foretell impending disasters and gloomy revolutions. The shadows will rise and the lost will return. The most terrifying prophecy is seen by some as a sign of an imminent end of the world, when evil forces would emerge from their prisons and cause chaos. This theory proposes that the Codex Gigas is more than just a historical artifact. It is a living document with prophetic power that goes beyond its creation and into the world of future occurrences. Is the Codex Gigas an artifact from our history or a prophecy foretelling our most gloomy future? The Devil's Key and the Monastic Crypt. Myth has it that the Codex Gigas was secretly penned in a crypt under the monastery, a location known only to a handful of monks who took an oath of silence. The last fragments of a wicked ritual called the Devil's Key are supposedly kept in this tomb. It is an invocation that, if performed, can open a gateway to other dimensions, connecting our world to one of pure chaos and despair. Timed synchronization with astronomical occurrences, exact incantations, and the usage of rare banned substances described in great detail in the Codex are all necessary components of the ritual. Legend has it that several monks went into the crypt to carry out the rite, but then disappeared, leaving behind nothing but the haunting sound of their chanting in the deserted hallways of the monastery. Some think that the ritual's last spark comes from an artifact that sits deep within this tomb, maybe even a relic that the devil himself touched. If there is a real crypt and the ritual is as powerful as said, whoever deciphers its mysteries will have the ability to call upon long-forgotten demons or command ominous forces on an unprecedented level. The Codex Gigas takes on an air of urgent mystique when the thought of such a crypt existing, concealed and guarded by black magic, is entertained. This raises the specter that the ultimate dark power it possesses might be lurking just beyond reach, patiently awaiting the daring soul who is willing to perform the ritual. Is there a way that this secret room might connect our reality to a shadowy dimension? The last words of the monk. In his last moments, the monk scribbled a final cryptic note in the margins of a forgotten chapter of the Codex Gigas, a product of his anguish and despair. "The shadows watch," he said, his words jumbled and mysterious. The text is ravenous. Scholars have been puzzled by this foreboding statement, which has sparked heated debate over its meaning and ramifications for centuries. Eventually, the Codex will assert its ownership. For some, it's a portent of the imminent release of the sinister powers contained within the Codex, which will seize the spirits of everyone who ventures to open its pages. Some interpret the monk's last remarks as a diagnosis of his own mental illness, while others see them as a prophecy arising from his anguish. Along with the other cryptic symbols found inside the text, this message suggests that the Codex Gigas will be crucial in determining humanity's destiny in the future. According to some theories, the monk glimpsed the dawn of the Codex's dormant abilities, which would force the book's contrasting forces of light and darkness to face off. There are still many unanswered questions about the Codex and its mysterious impact, and this letter is a chilling reminder of both. Is the Codex Gigas only waiting for the right moment to reveal its sinister secrets to the world? The mysterious symbolism covered in plain sight. Codex Gigas's strange symbolism is one of the manuscript's most frightening features. Filling spaces between verses, encircling images, and defining the borders of some chapters, these symbols seem ornamental at first sight. On the other hand, when studied more closely, scientists have found that these patterns create a complex network of holy geometry. The shapes and sequences match with symbols from old mystical rituals, which are generally condemned in Christian dogma. Deliberate efforts to embed hidden meanings and esoteric information inside the book are suggested by these symbols, which include interconnecting circles, triangular patterns, and intricate arrangements. Research has shown that these symbols are quite similar to those in early Kabbalistic writings, suggesting that the monk may have studied esoteric traditions outside of Christianity. Because it was highly taboo for researchers of that time to investigate pagan or heretical beliefs, this fusion of symbols from several mystical traditions is unparalleled. According to some theories, the monk was trying to unite different aspects of power and spirituality into a cohesive whole. a work that defies categorization. The Codex Gigas's complex symbolism suggests a hidden meaning. It may have been meant to be a portal to all knowledge, combining forbidden symbols to form a single reality that includes both the light and the dark. Was the Codex Gigas meant to combine forbidden symbols into a single reality vision, opening the door to all knowledge? The shadow side of light. Codex Gigas is unique among medieval manuscripts for its elaborate illuminations. These pictures aren't just decorative. They show weird plants, monsters, and twisted shapes that some have likened to those in alchemical writings from the Renaissance. These pictures give the manuscript a creepy, strange quality, as if it were inhabited by some alien being. An unsettling artwork depicts a contorted tree whose roots entwine with abstract symbols and mysterious characters, giving the impression of veins. In the eyes of some, it is a metaphor for the tree of life, while to others, it is a doorway to the underworld, a route for evil spirits to enter our world. According to urban legend, anyone who touches the page where this drawing is located may experience hallucinations and nightmares, and those who examine it closely often claim seeing horrific visions. Someone from the current day spent hours poring over this artwork, but he supposedly had such terrifying visions that he gave up on historical research completely, leaving behind just notes that hinted at his mental breakdown. Like other images in the Codex, this one seems to have a deeper, sinister purpose. It's like a visual incantation that draws the viewer into a realm of supernatural dread and gloom, further establishing the Codex Gigas's reputation as a medium for evil forces. Are these lights only for show? Or are they a visual spell that draws the reader into the book's gloomy world? Strange harmony with cosmological cycles. Not only does the Codex Gigas record information about its time period, but it also seems to be in sync with specific astronomical and cosmic cycles. There is a strong correlation between the manuscript and astronomical events, according to astrologers and mystics who have studied the Codex. They claim that certain portions coincide with lunar phases, planetary conjunctions, and solar eclipses. Some scholars have used these cycles to draw connections between the Codex and major historical events like the Black Death, wars, and other calamities that appear to fit with the ominous prophecies written in it. The most worrisome part is that new research suggests the Codex might have secrets about a great conjunction that is supposed to happen this century. The vague description of this conjunction, which includes the phrase, "the shadows of old will reclaim their place," has led many to fear that it portends calamitous alignment that will access a parallel universe. Some think that when the stars align in this way, it opens a portal for dark, ancient powers to visit our Earth from another dimension. The Codex's exact astronomical allusions cast doubt on its intended use as a work of prophecy and cast it instead in the role of a sinister instrument with the power to change the trajectory of human history. Could the Codex be keeping track of the passage of time leading up to a cosmic alignment that would be catastrophic for mankind? Indecipherable Codex Resilience. Over its lengthy existence, the Codex Gigas has weathered innumerable disasters, including destructive floods and fires, as well as the devastation caused by war and human strife. The pages and bindings of the Codex have survived the test of time and the efforts of those who would have destroyed it, unlike other priceless writings and artifacts. During the 30 Years' War, Swedish soldiers tried to steal the Codex from a besieged abbey, according to one disturbing account. Even though everything around them was in utter disarray, the troops said the book was heavy as a rock and gave off an unexplained heat. Amidst the ruins of the monastery, the text remained undamaged as they gave up trying to steal it, believing it was cursed or protected by black magic. The locals' subsequent discovery of the Codex, seemingly undamaged, only served to solidify their conviction in its possessed evil power, which they attribute to its indomitable survival. Some interpret this resiliency as evidence that the Codex is still alive, that the contract that created it is the driving force for its preservation, and that it is actively fighting against destruction so that its sinister legacy might live on. Supernatural powers have ensured that the Codex Gigas will remain an indestructible relic, protecting its contents and ensuring that it will be around for generations to come. Is the Devil's Bible just a book, or is it a sacred artifact protected from harm by some unseen power? The Codex and the Black Flame Cult. Codex Gigas has a dark history shrouded in secrecy and mystery, and rumors of a hidden society called the Cult of the Black Flame have been circulating around it. This mysterious organization is said to be devoted to honoring the Codex as a holy relic, as its believers hold the belief that it holds the key to humankind's true beginnings and can lead them to enlightenment through access to forbidden information. It is said that the members of the Cult of the Black Flame have spent their whole lives immersed in the study of the Codex, each doing their best to decipher its esoteric meanings through rigorous rituals and mysterious customs. Supposedly, cult members have secretly gathered all over Europe, reciting rites taken from the Codex and trying to call upon supernatural beings. Strange patterns were painted into old trees and stone ruins, which were thought to be protective wards or markers for their rituals, and witnesses who saw shadowy individuals vanishing into the night also reported seeing these things. Despite the lack of official confirmation, the Codex Gigas has a formidable reputation due in large part to the persistent rumors and anecdotal accounts that suggest the Cult of the Black Flame is instrumental in keeping the manuscript's dark influence and its secrets hidden from the uninitiated. The Codex may hold the key to eternal power, but is this clandestine organization really what it claims to be? Or are they just pawns in a sinister plot? The Hungering Book. As if the book were alive and yearning to be studied and understood, modern scholars who have devoted themselves to researching the Codex Gigas sometimes report a disquieting effect. This feeling can take many forms, from a compulsive need to read every word to an obsessive fixation that researchers can't resist. While sleeping, some people have reported seeing the Codex's pages and hearing voices urging them to return to the book to learn more about its secrets. The reader is enticed to find information that would be better left buried by these voices, which are frequently compared to dark secrets or whispered incantations. For some, the Codex Gigas is more than just a historical artifact. It may be a living, breathing entity that draws strength from the thoughts and emotions of those who study it. Reports of faint whispers echoing phrases like "seek the truth within" or "complete the ritual" have been heard by those who have spent time alone in the archives. As the reader delves deeper into its pages, their mental stability is progressively eroded by a fixation that tests the limits of their sanity. Many have met sad ends trying to decipher the Codex's mysteries. Their devotion has driven them mad or caused them to give up on life altogether. And this terrifying theory fits with their tragic ends. Is it possible that the Codex is more than simply cursed? Is it possible that it is an artifact that feeds on human knowledge, enthralling those same minds? Heaven and hell engage in an endless conflict. According to certain religious scholars, the Codex Gigas serves as a platform where angels and demons engage in a never-ending struggle, using parchment and ink as weapons. In this view, the Codex is the devil's attempt to corrupt and poison the holy scriptures of Christianity by inserting evil knowledge and influences into them. Subtly manipulating religious scripture to include forbidden rituals and demonology allowed the devil to sow doubt, terror, and anarchy among those who read it. Within the Codex, a clandestine conflict rages where every prayer and invocation of exorcisms leads readers further into the shadows. The implications are mind-boggling. The Codex Gigas was a cosmic weapon in the struggle between good and evil, not just a desperate monk's pet project. As one reads, they are engaging in a constant struggle between good and evil, with the former trying to preserve their influence and the latter trying to corrupt and control. The important role of the Codex in the unending fight between heaven and hell is highlighted by the ongoing war within it, which highlights the manuscript's tremendous power and the danger it poses to those who seek its knowledge. Is the Codex Gigas the pinnacle of Satan's deceit? A clandestine conflict fought in the blood of all who seek to understand it? The last mysteries, the devil's hand. Whether or if the devil literally helped create the Codex Gigas is one of the most disputed and disturbing beliefs surrounding it. Historians disagree on whether the devil was involved in the manuscript's creation or if the monk's bargain only included supernatural assistance. They bring up specific examples of pictures, including the devil's own likeness, that display an intricate style and degree of detail that appears to be beyond the capacity of a single human scribe operating under tremendous pressure. The artist must have had either extremely rare or superhuman knowledge and talent based on the shading, eye depth, and genuine expression. Strange ink shading and pressure patterns that don't fit with conventional quill methods were picked up by an artist who examined the text not long ago. In light of these findings, the devil may have interceded on behalf of the monk, guiding his hand from another realm to make sure that each stroke bore his own imprint. Many take this influence to be more than just symbolic. They perceive it as a tangible expression of the devil's will written into the codex. In addition to making the Codex Gigas even more wicked, this notion suggests that the devil is still using it to affect people, keeping tabs on them, and maybe even controlling them if they dare to study it too closely. Could the devil's hand be concealed in the codex, with the genuine author lurking behind each line and stroke? The damned hallucinations. Many scholars who have poured their hearts and souls into researching the Codex Gigas throughout the years have reported a string of strange and disturbing events that they interpret as evidence that the document is conscious of evil. People who spend a lot of time reading books report experiencing a wide range of hallucinations, from hearing voices that seem to come from another world to seeing spectral figures that appear out of thin air. According to the researchers, people felt as though invisible eyes were watching their every move, and that shadows would flash over their periphery and vanish if they attempted to concentrate on them. It was said by a 17th century scribe who had spent months transcribing sections of the codex that the pages seemed to turn independently, and that the image of the devil seemed to change and evolve as he looked at it, as if it were alive and reacting to his presence. Psychologists in the modern era have put up the theory of bibliomancy-induced psychosis to explain these incidents, arguing that the strong belief in the curse of the codex and the attendant intense concentration could cause serious mental problems. Some scientists, though, refuse to accept the validity of psychological accounts and continue to insist on the existence of a more malevolent force at work. The Codex Gigas, they say, is beckoning to anybody brave enough to study it, enticing them to a deeper connection with the shadowy powers it contains. In addition to keeping the myth of the Codex alive, this constant barrage of negative thoughts discourages most people from delving into its depths. Is the Codex Gigas beckoning readers to immerse themselves in its sinister mysteries, or are these hallucinations only mental tricks? The damned language. The language and dialect used to write the Codex Gigas is one of its less discussed yet deeply unsettling features. Although the Codex is primarily written in Latin, a language often seen in medieval manuscripts, it does contain some passages in an enigmatic dialect that is difficult to translate. These sections are frequently found within sections on rituals and exorcisms, which implies that they are important and might contain spells or instructions that are vital to the evil rites used in the Codex. Attempts by linguists to decipher this dialect have yielded a complex script that seems purposefully enigmatic, with linguistic components that include Old Latin and Hebrew. Some have speculated that these expressions speak for a language of the damned, a code whose gloomy undertones are intended solely for individuals who comprehend them. Others think that the monk was told this primitive speech by beings beyond human comprehension when he made his agreement with the devil. The presence of this mysterious language suggests that the Codex Gigas may have been meant to be kept secret, available only to a chosen few who could interpret its codes and get access to its forbidden wisdom. This obscure language further complicates the Codex, which may have been written to keep its deepest mysteries hidden from the ignorant. Only those well-versed in such matters and prepared to venture into the unknown could have deciphered its meaning. We appreciate you joining us as we delve into the Codex Gigas' hidden secrets. Check out our upcoming videos and let us know what you think if you're interested in the dark mysteries of the past.